coming here to Hidden True Crime, to sharing your side of the story and what is going on in your hearts and in your minds. And so, with that, um, why don't we start honestly with sharing what I think many people might be wondering? Why are you choosing to do an interview today?
Well, we've had first of all, you're thrusted into a limelight that you would never expected to experience in your entire life. Uh, so a lot of mischaracterizing us and just a lot of speculation and conjecture. So anyway, um,
The reason we're doing this today, Lauren and John, is because with the docket dump that went out there, we no longer feel constrained to keep silent and let people keep castigating us and dragging us through the muck for no reason, using lies, conjectures, embroidering facts that they do have, making up facts that they don't. It's become a very incestuous snake pit of lies, innuendo, and just
Stefan's parents appearing on Hidden True Crime is a direct result of their KPD interview. Shout out to Grizzly for the footage.
So we can do it one of two ways. I can just give you guys the floor and you can let us know what their dynamic was, or I can do it question and answer wise, whatever's more comfortable for you.
Well, if you do it question and answer wise, you'll get the answers that you wanted. If you let us sit here and ramble on for half an hour, you may not get what you want. You still have to ask the question.
Fair enough. Fair enough for me.
we can fill in the gaps.
Yes.
All right. So, any idea how long Stefan and Jen have been in a relationship?
7 years.
7 years.
7 to 8 years, somewhere there.
Okay. And was it constant throughout those 7 and 8 years, or on and off, or?
They were friends first, close friends first, and then it evolved into a romantic relationship. I think probably the first 18 months was just friendship, and then it changed from there. And no, we did not like the relationship.
Why not?
Didn't prove of it.
No.
Why?
She was a bad influence on it because of her uh,
Drugs.
well, drugs plus I think she was taking medications for depression, anxiety, what have you, and I just didn't feel that she was going to be a good influence for him.
She's bipolar. She's bisexual. She's a drug addict. She had a young child. The family was disapproving, and
Quick note, Jen and Stefan didn't start as close friends. They met as co-workers for Eco Homes, a company that Stefan's dad owned. The reason why they know the timeline so well is because they hired Jen Soto. They don't want to talk about that because all that disapproval talk goes right out the window because you're really the matchmaker. The hubris is next level. Could you imagine how they were speaking to people prior to their son getting arrested? With these two interviews being very different, it's easier to tell how the Stearns fuck with the language. Stefan's parents appearing on Hidden True Crime is a direct result of their interview that they had with the Kissimmee Police Department. The KPD's intended role for Stefan's parents was only to provide them useful information for their investigation. The intent of Stefan's parents was quite different. They're trying to steer the investigation towards Jen Soto by trying to make their son seem less culpable. They were hoping that just the public's awareness of their cooperation would lessen the chances of their reputation being destroyed. This is how Stefan's parents fuck with the language in order to do that. First, they get a baseline of their immediate audience, which in this case would be the KPD detectives. Next, they find true attributes of their target person, which would be Jen Soto, that they believe that their immediate audience would accept as negative on their own. That's mainly to avoid having to explain or give specific examples of why that trait is negative. Then they go on to say things like drugs, she's bisexual, she's bipolar. For their immediate audience, that tactic worked, but you can't say those things to everybody. And they found out when their interview ended up on YouTube. They were fully aware that they were being recorded by a public official, but they're mad at the public for their reaction when their interview becomes public record. Like, who do these people think they are? Then they go on Hidden True Crime to direct their anger toward the public and basically do the exact same thing. Then they talk about being constrained and castigated and conjecture. And I'm losing my voice right now, and I really don't want to spend my voice on quoting her.
Never mentioned anything. I've never seen any signs. I tried watching her like a hawk. I thought I was doing a good job, but I wasn't. I was oblivious to everything. 4 years?
Minimum. That's just how that far back the cloud goes. And I find it hard to believe for me that you were so worried about how many pills she took at night, but not where she slept or what relationship she was. His interest in her.
I thought we were all safe. I thought because than that he hadn't shown me anything so far. Like everything seems fine. Like he seemed like he treated her like
he treats you. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Whether or not that's what you felt, does that make sense? People having lawyers is their constitutional right. That is a thing that everybody is afforded. But for somebody who's going through what you were going through, to offer him a lawyer leads me to believe that there may have been a conversation, there may have been knowledge, or there may have been some inclination that you had, whether it be his involvement, her location, or something to where in your mind there's guilt.
I promise you, like
because you offering him a lawyer is very weird.
I know. That was still me under the assumption that I think at one point you guys interviewed me, and when you guys showed me the picture of her, I believed the sexual stuff, but I didn't want to believe that he had done anything evil to her. I'm like, no, what if he did this stuff fine, but what if she's still missing
Remember, Jen and Stefan started off as co-workers. Then they became friends, and they worked for the company that Stefan's dad owned. In part one, I told you that these two Stains were never in a real relationship. I don't care what Stefan's parents said. Jen tells you the reality of the situation if you listen closely.
So what did you meet Steve for Stefan?
I met Stefan in 2017. We both worked for Eco Homes, a real estate company. I did appointments, and he worked in the office doing like warranty work. We met as coworkers. We became really good friends. We were best friends for like a year. And then eventually I asked him if he wanted to hook up, and he said sure. And yeah.
You said 17, 18. Did you live in Orlando, Kissimmee? Where were you guys staying then?
Kissimmee.
And did you guys live together in 17?
He technically lived at his parents' house, but he was staying at my house all the time.
Okay. Same house you're in now or a different house?
Wait, I take it back. In 2017, he wasn't staying over my house. It started in 2018 when we started hooking up, and he started sleeping over my house.
Okay.
And what were your next question?
Was that in the current
Yes.
house you live in now?
Yes.
Okay. How long you lived in the house?
On and off. because at one point we moved close to where his parents live right now they live in North Port Florida, Sarasota County. I lived in Port Charlotte, which is Charlotte County, the county right next door. We had an apartment there for like 6 to 8 months. We moved down there because, again, Stefan was promised a job and that fell through. So we supported ourselves in this tiny apartment for a little while until I ran out of funds.
Do you remember what year that was?
2020.
So when did you live in Port Charlotte? 2020.
I don't remember what month I moved in, but I remember moving out in November.
Of 2020.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it was some April, May.
That's fine. We go. We need to later. 17. In 2017. So 2018.
6.
6. For my two.
At the same time, no, but
Okay.
I've had ex-husbands and ex-boyfriends live in that same house before.
Got it. You were to Port Charlotte sometime in 2020 for a few months.
Yeah.
And then you came back to the same house.
After Port Charlotte, I went back to my mom's house for a little while
Where's that at?
in Hunters Creek, Florida.
Got it.
Um, Even before Port Charlotte, actually, the few months before I was in Port Charlotte, I was living at my mom's house.
With Stefan.
Around March 20th, decided he wanted to renovate the house and possibly sell it. So he told us to get out. So March 2020, so around COVID time, like 2 weeks after COVID was announced, I moved in with my mom.
Okay.
And I lived with her for a little bit. And then the Port Charlotte apartment happened. We moved to Port Charlotte, were there for a few months, came back to live with my mom, was there for a few months, and then I decided to move back. That he was moving out and like getting an RV and like living the RV life.
Yeah.
So he needed somebody to take care of the house for him. So I said, yeah, I would do it, of course. So I moved in. I moved into his bedroom, downstairs, the master bedroom. Eventually, Stefan did come. A few years. It wasn't until like June of last year that I can go upstairs to the guest bedroom upstairs because I just he's not a very clean guy. He's kind of a little hoarder and like collector. So just my house was always a mess and never the way that I wanted it to look. Or the clutter just gave me anxiety. So I asked him to move upstairs and he did. And he lived upstairs until until December of last year. And then he moved to North Port, Florida with his parents. But they had promised him a job, but that fell through. So we were in the process of
I'll get into the timeline in the next part, but for now, I just want to show you guys something.
All right. And did you get off at 10 p.m.?
Yes.
All right. Did you go directly home?
Yes.
About how long does it take you to get home?
About 25 to 30 minutes.
And when you get home, who is downstairs, if anybody? You have a two-story, is it a townhome? Is that the best word for it?
Yes.
If anybody is downstairs, who is downstairs?
I saw my daughter Madeline and Stefan.
Do you recall what Madeline was wearing?
No.
And do you recall what Stefan was wearing?
I can't tell you no.
Now, during this 30 minutes that the three of you are in your bedroom, is Madeline engaging in any of her kind of nighttime routine or, getting ready for bed? What else is going on, if anything?
We spent a long time talking about gifts and having her show me, and then we counted out her money. I can't remember if she had finished with all of her bedtime routine.
Okay. Does she brush her teeth at night?
In the shower.
In the shower? Okay.
Uh-huh.